Before you hear his name, understand one thing clearly. This is not a fairy tale. This is not a myth. This is the real story of a man whose cruelty terrified empires, and whose name still sends chills down the spine of history. Welcome to a story where power was built on fear, justice was delivered through blood, and mercy was considered weakness. This is the story of Vlad III, known to history as Vlad the Impaler, the man who inspired the legend of Dracula. And what you are about to hear is only the beginning. Vlad III was born in the year 1431 in the small medieval town of Sighișoara, located in present-day Romania. At the time, this land was known as Wallachia, a fragile region trapped between powerful enemies. To the west stood the Kingdom of Hungary. To the south rose the unstoppable force of the Ottoman Empire. Vlad was born into danger. His father, Vlad the Impaler Dracula, was a nobleman and a member of a powerful military order called the Order of the Dragon. This order was created to defend Christianity against the expanding Ottoman Empire. The name Dracula came from the Latin word Draco, meaning dragon, but in the local language it also meant devil, and that meaning would soon feel terrifyingly accurate. From an early age, Vlad learned that survival required strength, intelligence, and brutality. Wallachia was not a land ruled by peace. It was ruled by betrayal, assassinations, and constant war. When Vlad was only 13 years old, his life changed forever. To secure his political position, Vlad's father made a deadly decision. He sent young Vlad and his younger brother Radu as hostages to the Ottoman court. This was not an act of trust. It was insurance. If Vlad II disobeyed the Ottomans, his sons would pay the price. For years, Vlad lived inside the Ottoman Empire, surrounded by enemies, humiliation, and fear. He watched punishments carried out in horrifying ways. He saw prisoners tortured, executed, and displayed as warnings. This was where Vlad learned a dark lesson. Fear controls people more effectively than love. While his brother Radu adapted to Ottoman life and even gained favor, Vlad did the opposite. He grew cold, silent, observant. Every insult was remembered. Every humiliation was stored in his mind. Then came the ultimate betrayal. Back in Wallachia, Vlad's father was murdered by political rivals. His older brother was blinded and buried alive. Vlad was still a prisoner when he learned this. In that moment, something inside him broke forever. He did not cry. He did not beg. He made a promise. If he ever returned to Wallachia, he would rule through terror. He would destroy his enemies completely, and he would make sure no one ever dared to betray him again. Years later, opportunity arrived. The Ottomans released Vlad, believing they could control him. They were wrong, because the boy who left Wallachia was gone. What returned was a man forged by rage, loss, and an unshakable hunger for power. And this was only the beginning of his reign. In the next part, Vlad finally takes the throne of Wallachia and unleashes a level of punishment the world had never seen before. Vlad finally returned to Wallachia as a changed man. The land he came back to was broken. Power changed hands quickly. Rulers were killed often. Trust did not exist. Wallachia was ruled by powerful noble families called boyars. These men decided who lived and who died. They had betrayed Vlad's father. They had murdered his brother. And they believed they could control Vlad too. They were wrong. In the year 1448, Vlad claimed the throne of Wallachia for the first time. He was young, he was inexperienced, and he was surrounded by enemies. The boyars laughed at him. They saw him as weak. They believed he would be easy to remove. Vlad watched quietly. He studied every face, every smile, every lie. But his first rule did not last long. His enemies united against him. Within months, Vlad was forced to flee. Most men would have given up. Vlad did not. For years, he lived as a warrior without a kingdom. He fought battles. He gained allies. He sharpened his mind. Most importantly, he planned revenge. In 1456, Vlad returned again, this time with an army, this time with experience, this time with no mercy. He defeated his rivals and reclaimed the throne. And the moment he gained power, everything changed. Vlad knew one truth. As long as the boyars lived, he would never be safe. So he invited them to a grand feast. They believed it was a celebration. They believed Vlad wanted peace. They believed wrong. The hall was filled with laughter and music. Food was served, wine flowed freely. Then Vlad stood up. He reminded them of every betrayal, every lie, every crime. The doors were locked. The soldiers entered. Some boyars were arrested immediately. Others were dragged outside. Many were taken away and never seen again. The strongest were forced to march for miles. They were sent to build a fortress. Most died from exhaustion. This was Vlad's message. Power belonged to him now. Fear spread quickly across Wallachia. Crime dropped. Theft disappeared. Disobedience vanished. People whispered his name carefully. Vlad was no longer just a ruler. He was a warning. But his rule was only beginning. Vlad wanted absolute control. And to achieve that, he needed absolute fear. Soon, he would introduce a punishment so horrific that Europe would remember it forever. A punishment that earned him a new name, Vlad the Impaler. Vlad now ruled Wallachia with absolute authority. But ruling was not enough for him. He wanted control through fear. Fear that no one would ever forget. Crime had already begun to disappear. But Vlad believed fear worked best when it was visible. So he chose a punishment so brutal that it would silence rebellion forever. Impalement. It was slow. It was painful. And it was public. A wooden stake was driven through the body. The victim was left alive as long as possible, sometimes for hours, sometimes for days. Vlad made sure everyone watched. Thieves were impaled. Traitors were impaled. Enemies were impaled. Sometimes entire villages were punished together. Soon the roads of Wallachia were lined with bodies. Fields became forests of wooden stakes. The smell of death filled the air. People stopped questioning his rule. They obeyed. Vlad believed order was more important than mercy. To him, fear was justice. One famous story spread quickly. A golden cup was placed near a public well. Anyone could drink from it. No one dared steal it, not because of guards, but because of Vlad. Foreign visitors were horrified. But crime truly vanished. Then came the Ottomans. The Ottoman Empire was powerful, massive, unstoppable. They demanded tribute, children, gold, loyalty. Vlad refused. He captured Ottoman envoys and punished them in a way no one expected. He had their turbans nailed to their heads because they refused to remove them. This act shocked the world. War was now inevitable. The Ottoman army marched toward Wallachia. Thousands of soldiers, trained, confident, but Vlad had something they did not expect. Terror. When the Ottomans entered Wallachia, they saw it. Miles of impaled bodies, Ottoman soldiers, enemies, prisoners, a forest of death. Even hardened warriors froze in fear. Some soldiers refused to move forward. Others fled. The Ottoman Sultan himself was disturbed. This was not normal war. This was psychological warfare. Vlad attacked at night, silent, fast, merciless. He burned villages, poisoned wells, destroyed supplies. The enemy never felt safe. Vlad did not need to win every battle. He only needed to break their spirit, and he succeeded. But his cruelty was spreading beyond Wallachia. Europe whispered his name in fear. Some called him a monster. Others called him a defender of Christianity. Vlad did not care, because the more they feared him, the stronger his legend became. And soon, that legend would escape history and enter myth. Vlad's reputation spread across Europe like wildfire. Stories of his cruelty traveled faster than armies. Some rulers feared him. Some secretly admired him. To many Christians, Vlad was a hero, a man who stood against the Ottoman Empire when others bowed. To others, he was a demon wearing a crown. Pamphlets were written about him. Illustrations showed him dining among impaled bodies, drinking wine while death surrounded him. These images shocked Europe, but Vlad did nothing to correct them. Fear protected his borders better than walls. However, power never stays still. Inside Wallachia, nobles began to conspire. They feared Vlad as much as his enemies did. The Ottomans also waited patiently. They knew brute force alone would not defeat him. So they used politics. Vlad was betrayed. He was captured, not in battle, but through deception. He was imprisoned for years, locked away while the world changed outside. During his imprisonment, stories about him grew darker, more exaggerated, more terrifying. Reality mixed with imagination. People began to whisper strange things. that Vlad enjoyed blood, that he fed on suffering, that death followed wherever he went. These stories crossed borders. They entered folklore. Eventually, Vlad was released, but he was no longer the same man, and neither was the world he returned to. He briefly regained power, but his enemies were stronger now. His support was weaker. His final reign was short, violent, and desperate. Then, Vlad disappeared from the stage of history. Some say he died in battle. Some say he was assassinated. His body was never clearly identified, but his name refused to die, because something strange happened next. Writers and storytellers took his legend and transformed it. The ruthless ruler became something darker, something immortal, and that is where the real nightmare begins. After Vlad's death, his story should have ended, but it did not. Instead, it transformed. Across Eastern Europe, people began sharing dark folk tales, stories of a ruler who refused to rest in his grave, a man whose soul was too violent to find peace. Villagers spoke of shadows moving at night, of graves disturbed, of a presence that fed on fear. Vlad's cruelty became the foundation of myth. Over time, truth faded, and legend grew. Centuries later, a writer named Bram Stoker discovered these stories. He read about Vlad the Impaler, about his methods, about the fear his name still carried. Stoker did not write history. He wrote horror. He took Vlad's name, his homeland, his reputation, and reshaped them. Thus, Dracula was born, not the real Vlad, but a creature inspired by him. An immortal being, living in darkness, feeding on blood, ruling through fear. The fictional Dracula spread worldwide. Books, plays, films, legends. Most people forgot the real man, but they remembered the monster. Ironically, Vlad had always used fear as a weapon. Now, fear made him immortal. The line between man and myth disappeared. Was Vlad truly evil, or simply ruthless in a brutal world? History gives no clear answer. But one thing is certain: no other ruler turned into a legend like him. No other man became a monster without ever claiming to be one. And yet, the story is still not finished, because Vlad's legacy did not end with Dracula. His name continues to influence culture, cinema, and modern horror itself. Even centuries after his death, Vlad the Impaler refuses to be forgotten. Historians study him, writers write about him, filmmakers recreate his life. He is not just a man anymore. He is a symbol of power, a symbol of fear, a symbol of revenge. Vlad's methods were brutal, but they worked. He protected his land. He punished crime. He ruled with an iron fist. This combination of justice and terror fascinated people. Some admired his courage, some feared his cruelty, and many were both. Even today, Vlad's name evokes strong emotions. In Romania, tourists visit his homeland. They walk the same forests he once crossed. They hear stories of the impaled. They see his castles and fortresses. Legends say the forest still whispers his name, and the castle walls seem to remember his presence. But it is not just local legend. Vlad inspired global pop culture, books, movies, TV series, video games. All borrow a piece of his dark legend. All spread his story further. People cannot decide whether he was a hero or a monster. Perhaps he was both, a ruler shaped by his time, a man who lived in a brutal world. Vlad's story teaches us something. History is never simple. Heroes and villains often share the same face, and fear is a powerful tool. It can protect kingdoms. It can enforce law. It can create legends. As we reach the next chapter of his story, you will see how Vlad's myth became eternal, how Dracula continues to influence horror today, and how one man's cruelty became immortal. Vlad the Impaler's life was brutal, terrifying, and unforgettable. But it was more than cruelty. It was about power, fear, and survival. He ruled his land with unmatched authority, protected his people from invaders, punished crime with ruthless precision. His legend grew faster than his life. Stories of his cruelty inspired fear. Stories of his courage inspired awe. Vlad became more than a man. He became immortal in the minds of people. Dracula was born from this legend, a symbol of darkness, a reminder that history can be stranger than fiction. Even today, centuries later, Vlad the Impaler influences culture. He is studied, remembered, and feared. His story teaches us about the fine line between hero and monster. But now, as our journey comes to an end, remember this. History is full of lessons. Legends are built from choices. Fear can be a weapon, but courage and strategy shape empires. And Vlad's story reminds us that sometimes truth is stranger than myth. If you enjoyed this journey through the life of Vlad the Impaler, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Click like if you learned something new, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay updated with more legendary stories from history. Your support helps us bring these stories to life. Stay curious, stay fascinated, and remember, history is full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.